Welcome to today's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast, your channel for super easy, no-nonsense advice on how to declutter and organise your home. Please welcome your hosts, professional organisers Ingrid Jansen and Lesley Spellman.
Hello and welcome listeners to episode 68 of the Declutter Hub podcast. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Lesley.
If you have clutter and want to sort it out, this is the show for you. As well as the free resources on our declutterhub.com website, like the podcast, checklist and guest blogs, we also have an exclusive area where we guide our members step by step to declutter their homes. We realize this can be very overwhelming, so we're there every step of the way with courses, live Q&As, and a community discussion. Take a look on members.declutterhub.com. In today's episode, Lesley and I are talking about Blue Monday. The third Monday in January is the most depressing day of the year, according to experts. We apparently have post-Christmas blues. We dread the cold nights, and we know our unpaid credit card bills are coming in. How can we debunk this idea and make this day we kickstart action? Now, Lesley, this upcoming Monday is Blue Monday. Oh, are you dreading it? I'm actually fine. I'm feeling fine about it, but how are you?
Yeah, no, I'm not really a Blue Monday person. It's another kind of media thing, isn't it, really? That everybody, a bit like Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Cyber Week, and there's all these things that the media kind of latch onto, really. What I would agree with is that there is a general kind of, not negativity, but January is a bit, for me, and I know this is not me, I just find January a bit of a kind of meh month. You have a lovely time, don't you, in December, and you kind of have to pick yourself up and really try and motivate yourself to get going in January, don't you?
January is, I'm not going to lie, it's not one of my favorite months of the year, but actually last year I had a really good January. Maybe it was because I was doing a dry January last year, I don't know, but I had a feeling, I was like, wow, I got lots done, and maybe it changes per year. I'm not completely sure, but it is a bit like, we had all the nice stuff. We saw all the family and we had all the nice things, and I missed my Christmas tree.
I think there is a psychological thing about January where we feel that it needs to be a kind of a reset month, really. The interesting thing for me about January, and I do kind of hibernate a little bit in January, because I think you're so full on, aren't you, in December, that you really want to kind of like take a little bit of time to detox a little bit, whether that's food, drink, money, whatever, to just kind of calm things down after a crazy December. I've got this kind of strange thing, really. My mum, this is years ago now, my mum died at the end of January. And so for me, it does bring back those emotions of my January being hospital visits and quite depressing. And so it kind of looms large. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who've got those kind of anniversaries and things. And because it was, my mum was diagnosed at the end of November and then died at the end of January, so it was very quick. So January is the month when she was poorly, and I struggle to forget about that, I think. And so consequently, I do a little bit of hibernation, as I like to call it, in January. Then by the end of January, I'm definitely ready to get going and sort of kickstart myself back into action a little bit as well. It's not that I don't do anything in January, but I do find it a bit of a kind of, not depressing, but, just a bit of a nothingy kind of month.
I don't think you should forget about it at all, Lesley. I think you think about her maybe more often, which is, I think, a wonderful thing too. I mean, she passed away a long time ago, didn't she now?
Yeah, it's like 14 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm then thinking, what does hibernating mean to you? What do you do then? I mean, do you really just sit on the sofa and do nothing? Or what does that mean then?
Well, I think hibernating sounds very dramatic.
I know.
I'm going to hibernate for the month of January. Even if you go out in January, there's just a difference. This is not that any nights out should be fueled by alcohol. That's not what I'm suggesting. But when you go out, even with a group of girls, and there's 10 of you and 6 of you are doing dry January, somehow it's just not quite as much fun as it was in December. So I think there's a little bit of that. Well, one of my best friends, her birthday is on Christmas Day. And so for many years as a girls group, when we were celebrating her birthday, we would go out the first week in January. But after last year was the first year we were like, you know what, let's not do January. Let's go out for your birthday in December amongst all the other Christmas festivities. And it was much better. Do you know what I mean? I just think there's just something a little bit flat. People are not quite as up for it in January because they're a little bit worn out. And I think it's important to have that reset time as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I don't have a problem with that at all. I think it is really important, especially sometimes even already it starts in November, so you've had a really busy 6 weeks. I think it's important to recharge the batteries and to make sure that you are kind of charging yourself up for the year that's coming. And I think a lot of people go, oh, but it's so negative. And I actually think it's quite a positive thing that you give your body rest and that you give your house a bit of a rest and you give your spending a bit of a rest. I think it's a good thing, actually.
Yeah, definitely it is a good thing for sure. But wrapped up in this then, we've got the media storm of Blue Monday. I feel that that's only, you did a little bit of research on it, didn't you, before the podcast? And I feel that it might only be a kind of UK thing and it might not be something that's in the rest of the world. So what did your research tell you about Blue Monday?
Well, apparently there is a holiday, I think it's called Martin Luther King Day in January. So a lot of times it falls together. So apparently the Blue Monday is a UK thing. And what I've read on the internet is that it actually was a bit of a gaffe of a travel company who wanted people to book holidays. But it kind of, as it goes with these things, it kind of took off a little bit. They made some sort of made up equation that it's the weather and it's the money and it's the post-Christmas blues. But actually the idea behind it was that it's actually a great day to go into action and not see it as a negative day, but as a positive day. But as it goes with these things, Blue Monday sounds, of course, far more interesting. So it probably got pulled out of proportion a little bit.
Yeah, if someone tells you that a day is going to be really negative and gloomy and dark and horrible, you're going to be like, oh, aren't you when you wake up that morning?
Poor third of the Monday in January is considered the worst day of the year. Oh my gosh, that sounds a bit dramatic, doesn't it?
Well, it's all a bit ridiculous, really, isn't it? I mean, they talk about it in terms of paying off your credit cards after the spending over Christmas. Because normally, I think people have about a 6-week turnaround on their credit cards between spending and paying the bill off. I'm pretty sure that not every credit card in the UK is paid on the third Monday of every month, is it? You know, I'm sure that credit cards can be paid on many, many days of the month. But anyway, so I suppose, yeah, so it's an interesting one, really. What's also wrapped up in Blue Monday is the fact that people say that they break their New Year's resolutions, don't they? That they've started in earnest, they've gone through 3 weeks of the month, and then they're failing to go to the gym, they're failing to be on a diet, they're failing to blah, blah, blah. And of course, decluttering is often on people's New Year's resolutions list. And so that's what we want to talk about, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So have you gone the first 3 weeks of January in earnest and now you're struggling to keep up? And how do you then keep up momentum to make sure this is not just a New Year's resolution, but it's a kind of, dare I say it, a lifelong resolution? That's a bit depressing in itself, isn't it? Definitely Blue Monday. But decluttering is a thing that you have to do your entire life. It's not something that is a one-off project.
What I've gathered from what you want to say, Lesley, decluttering and organizing is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And people start with the best intentions in the beginning of January going, this is the year, I'm going to sort it out. And then by the time it's Blue Monday, they've done like one half a drawer and they're like, oh my gosh, another thing I failed at and I didn't do. And that's what we're trying to say is like, just because it's the third Monday in January, you've done half a drawer, it doesn't matter. There's still 33 days to go. You know what I mean? There is still time to do it. And it is a marathon. It is not a sprint. You don't have to do everything within the next 3 weeks. You need to break it up in manageable chunks and use your SMART goals to get those projects over the line.
Definitely. So how do you achieve that? So we talk, it's quite broad, really, break it into manageable chunks. What does that look like? So a manageable chunk is going to be different depending on who you are, isn't it? Yeah. So a manageable, if you and I set to and do some decluttering, what we would consider a manageable chunk, we're probably fast, efficient and effective and we know exactly what we're doing. Our manageable chunk could be a room in 2 or 3 hours, whereas that's probably unlikely for other people who are not sort of proficient declutterers or people that have done this all their lives and actually do it for a career. Mm-hmm. So it's about knowing your own strengths and your own energy levels and things like that, and being honest with yourself about that and celebrating those wins along the way. You know, we talk about this all the time, don't we? You know, the challenge that we did a couple of weeks ago, we tackle on purpose really small areas of the home, small areas that we know are going to make a big impact. So we did things like, I don't know whether anybody went through the challenge, but we did receipts, we did appliance manuals, cleaning products,
Light bulbs and we did wires.
Yeah, wires. But all of these things we know are things that make a big impact, because every time you open that drawer full of receipts or scattered all over the house, it's a little bit depressing. So these small areas can make a huge difference, a really huge difference. And so don't think when you make that resolution to declutter your home that it has to be, I'm going to do my wardrobe, or I'm going to do the kids' playroom, or I'm going to do my kitchen or my garage. These decluttering projects can be something as small as receipts. It's going to make you feel really good.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to create loads and loads of space in your house, to be fair. But what it is going to do, it's going to give you, oh, I'm quite happy with that. Look at that drawer now. Doesn't it look lovely? And I've not got all those things scattered all over my house. So it's not just big things, it's little things as well. And so celebrate those wins along the way.
True. I mean, it can be as small as I'm going to do my purse today. I'm just going to make sure I just check that all the coins are in there that are from my currency that I'm actually paying with, that my paper money's there. I'm just going to have a look at some of my cards. Are the cards still valid? It doesn't have to be a massive, I'm going to do a kitchen project or I'm going to do all my clothes. And that's what we're trying to tell you, lovely listeners. It has to be small chunks. And I fully agree with you, Lesley. A small chunk is different for everybody. For somebody who's just starting out, it might just be, I'm going to do my purse, or I'm going to look at my socks today, or I'm going to look at my mugs. You know, something small. I'm just going to pull out my 25 mugs, and those I'm going to do today. Because that's how you build up the stamina to do a little bit more next time. And that's as well what we're saying all the time. You need to take yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit. We know that it's hard. We know it's not an easy thing to do, but you also need to make sure that you push yourself a little bit and go, you know what? Last time I did my mugs, today I'm going to do the Tupperware. Oh my gosh, that's like my worst nightmare is the Tupperware. That's what I'm going to do there. I don't fancy it. I really don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway because the buzz it makes me feel really good when I've done this little project.
Mental health is a huge factor in the decluttering world of something that stops people from getting things done. And so it's really hard. So if you're somebody who struggles with depression, or if you suffer from fibromyalgia, for example, those are the two things that immediately spring to mind, and you struggle with your energy, what you've got to try and do when you're decluttering is just push yourself a little bit further than you normally would. And that might be 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes. It doesn't have to be, right, I'm going to do a full day. Because if you do a full day, you then become completely exhausted. And you're like, that was such a negative experience for me that I'm not going to do it again for several weeks. And so I was talking yesterday, because quite often we talk to social workers and things that talk about clients, don't they? And I was talking to her and she was saying the client that she wanted to refer to me was really struggling with fibromyalgia, and that she felt that she could only do kind of 30 minutes at a time. And so if you feel that you can only do 30 minutes at a time, just try and push yourself a little bit to 35 minutes. And then the next time you can think, oh, that wasn't too bad. And then you might be able to do 40 minutes. And the more time you do, the more time you give it, the better. Because what that then means is that you can go through this cycle of decluttering where you get started. We talk about it all the time, don't you? You need to get started. You need to gather things together. Then you need to declutter. Then you need to organize. Think about storage. But the really, really important part of that is the enjoyment of the end result. And if you don't get to that enjoyment of the end result, which is why we're always so like, please try and finish a task. If you're doing a whole room, you're not going to get it finished. If I was going to go and do a whole room today, I probably wouldn't get it finished because it might be too much for me to do in the time that I've got allocated. So break it down into smaller chunks. And if you get 5 of those things done in a day, you can say, right, I'm going to start with the top drawer in my kitchen. And if you then have time, you go around that cycle, you've done the top drawer, then go on to the second drawer if you feel as if you've got time and energy to do that. So really think that through, because you've got to get to that end point to motivate yourself forward to the next one. So it is a little bit about trying to take yourself out of your comfort zone. It might not be energy, it might be that you're struggling to make decisions. So try and be a little bit braver with your decisions. Try and really, really drill down on the questions that you're asking yourself, and the honesty and realism that you have with yourself. So really, you've got to sort of talk to yourself a little bit and try and be braver. I think that's the question, and that's the thing that brings results.
Two thoughts popped into my head while you were saying that, Lesley. And I think also, for example, with the 30 minutes, 40 minutes, even if you know the next day you can't go up to 40 minutes yet, but you can do another 35 minutes, that's a fantastic win as well. So if you maybe are not ready to make that step the next day, but you can muster yourself and and said, I felt so good about this, I'm going to do another 35 minutes today. And instead of kind of waiting another 3 weeks to do another 35 minutes. So I think that is helping as well if you're in your home to spread it out a little bit and challenge yourself that way. And the other thing I thought when you were talking is we are so hard on ourselves. We're always saying, oh, I haven't done that, haven't finished that, didn't do that. I was so stupid that I didn't finish that. Instead of going, I did a really good job. I finished this drawer, or I've taken it out of the drawer today. Tomorrow I'm going to do the next step. Or, wow, I've done this and this and this step. And later today, I'm going to finish the other one. Go me. Instead of always being so hard on ourselves and being negative, be positive about your wins and congratulate yourself and go, you know what? I now feel I can watch a bit of telly for the next hour or so to kind of regroup, get some energy, but then I'm going to go back and finish this job. And I think that helps us. We're always so hard and so negative about ourselves. I think it's really important to be positive.
And if you're that kind of person who welcomes positive reinforcement from other people, that's where groups like our Facebook group come in, where you can post and say, look at this amazing job that I've done on this drawer. And other people are like, you've done a fantastic job. And that gives you a real boost. And some people like that and some people don't. But if you are that person, don't be scared to do that and to get that kind of virtual pat on the back from other people, because that's brilliant.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about actually, which was really, this is why I love our members really, because they're so insightful and they go on a real journey, don't they? So one of our lovely members actually in the membership area the other day posted about what she was going to do for 2020. So she's been working through the courses, hasn't she? And she's talks to us all the time about what she's doing and when. She's got one room in a house that's that she says is her kind of nightmare. And so what she's decided to do is she's given herself a challenge where she's breaking it down to, she knows it's going to take forever. She's going to do 20 minutes a day for 20 days a month. That's her goal. I have a sneaky suspicion that if she does those 20 minutes a day for 20 days a month, actually she'll get it done a lot sooner than she thinks that she will, because I think it's become this mammoth task for her because she finds it completely overwhelming. But the nice thing, and it's brilliant for us to see the insightfulness and the light bulbs that are going on, and people are saying, right, I'm finding it so hard, I'm going to break it down and I'm going to challenge myself to 20 minutes a day, 20 days of the month. Give myself a breather. I'm not overexerting myself, but I'm going to go for it. And that's absolutely fantastic for people to see themselves break it down. I love that.
It's so interesting to see. And what you will see is that once you start to get slowly and surely, you do those little chunks, it gets easier and easier. It is so interesting to see. I had it with my client the other day. She's like, Ingrid, I thought this room would take us like a whole day to sort out, but it's only taken us 2 hours. And in my head, I've made it such a big thing. While now, and of course I was helping her, but because the work we've done in the past, she's getting more and more organized and more decluttered. So it's easier to put stuff away and more stuff finds a home. So the process is being sped up about all the hard work she's done in the past. And that for her was like an incredible light bulb moment. She was like, wow, it actually isn't taking as long. And that's why we sometimes say, time yourself. Or set a timer and see how far you can get within 20 or 30 minutes and see how much you can do. And that's very interesting.
We tell ourselves stories all the time, don't we? With those are negative things. We convince ourselves of things, and often those can be real barriers to getting things done. So it's interesting because, it's like when we go around to clients and they're asking us for their help, and I've got no idea whether a room is going to take 2 hours or 2 years. It just seems so overwhelming that I wouldn't even like to consider putting on a time on it. And that's what's quite interesting, isn't it? That people don't have any idea about how long something's going to take. And so that's where break it down into manageable chunks, and then off you go, and you're just continually making progress, and you can continually big yourself up.
So,
We are
listeners,
going to kick Blue Monday to the curb, they say. Yeah.
I actually don't really worry about Blue Monday too much. I try to kind of think about, the thing that I like about January is that I actually try to do some paperwork. That's normally my month when I try to catch up on my paperwork. So I don't file as I go. I have a stack of things that need to be filed. So in January, I take really time to sort through some of my files and file away some of the paperwork that I've collected over a period of time. And that's my time to kind of, it's cold. I don't really want to do anything outside or in my shed or in my garage, or I want to stay away from the fridge after December. So I don't do anything in my kitchen. So I'm like, maybe I should do some decluttering in my paperwork. So that's normally my, and I try to watch some movies and sit on the sofa and have a bit of a rest.
I'm a bit nervous about you don't file as you go and it's all piled up somewhere. I've got this vision of like a whole year's worth of filing sitting there somewhere waiting to be filed till January.
Yeah, but I do about twice a year.
Okay.
But I don't keep a lot. A lot of it goes into shredder and goes in recycling and goes into. So I actually don't keep a lot of paperwork. So you don't have to. You're envisaging like this massive mountain of filing, aren't you, Lesley? I'm just talking about 10 centimeter stack of paperwork.
You need to practice what you preach, Ingrid. File as you go.
I don't like to file as I go. It doesn't work for me.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. I know, but we are going to do some.
You're going to be buried in paperwork for the whole of January, piling reams and reams of bills and things.
That's not true. But I also do a bit of decluttering as well. Kind of, I like to also spend a bit of time to kind of, go to my to-do paperwork and through some of the work files. And I always try to do a little bit of that around the kind of after Christmas. But I also like January because it's like, okay, I need to get my house in order feeling.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love doing the challenge. That's what I love about the challenges. I write the workbooks and then I actually go through the challenges myself. And it's like brilliant, you know what I mean? 'Cause all the things, I think I just write the challenges based on things that I need to tackle in my own house. It's so cool to be able to do those things and get them sorted out. I'm just teaching myself how to declutter and getting myself motivated. So anyway.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, I hadn't done my manuals in a long time, so it was the perfect opportunity to do a bit of a clear out as well, of course. This is not about perfection, and you know this, listeners. We are not about perfection. This is not about having everything in perfect order all the time. It's not possible. We like to enjoy life and go out and do fun stuff and go for walks and go out with our friends and with our family.
Or sit on the sofa for the whole of January. That's also.
Yes, under a blanket watching Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. So that takes us right back to hibernation. Yeah. So yeah, Blue Monday. We're not listening to Blue Monday, are we, here at the Declutter Hub? We are kicking it to the curb and we are taking action and moving our decluttering journey forwards.
Yes. So listeners, are you going to kick it to the curb with us? Are you going, you know what, January is actually quite a cool month. It's a great month to relax a little bit, have a rest, but also maybe think about, even maybe you want to create a list of manageable chunks that you want to do and do one this weekend before Blue Monday starts and just go into action with us. And we hope that we've made it a positive thing for you and that you're not going to flight, but you're going to fight yourself into action. Right, Lesley?
Yes. Flight and fight and flight and flight and fight. Yeah. We are going to fly, not fight.
Yes.
Is the word that you were looking for, I think.
Perfect. So Listeners, thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review. We love reading them, to be honest with you. And it's so nice to hear your feedback. And we read everything. And we, of course, take your comments on board. So please leave us a review and maybe tell other people that you really enjoy this podcast. Maybe, you know, a friend or a colleague or a family member who think, you know what, they would really like these two Declutter Hub ladies in their life and listen to our podcast. We would love it.
We want 2020 to be the year that we go up the charts, don't we? We're loving the podcast charts at the moment, aren't we?
Yes.
So yeah,
yes.
we want to go up. Maybe we're not going to go to number 1, but we'd like to go maybe into the top 10. What do you think?
Oh yeah, it would be great, you know. And we know that you really enjoy this show because we get the feedback. But leave us a review and tell us more. Of course, if you'd like to get more tips and advice, please follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as @DeclutterHub. And Lesley mentioned the Declutter Hub community, our Facebook group. Come and join us and join in the fun and get that pat on the back if you've done a really amazing job with a drawer. We'd love to see you there. If you would like to know more about our membership, please have a look at members.declutterhub.com to find out more there. If you don't want to miss the next weekly episode, please subscribe to the Declutter Hub podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio, and it will pop into your notifications each Friday. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast. Check out declutterhub.com for more inspiration, and don't forget to tune in next week.